Hi, this is Shell of Shell's Creations, and today I want to talk with you about ways that you can make your text, your journaling or parts of your title, but your text show up when you're putting it on a more of a busy or bold background. What we are working with today is a layout that I have that I've created using the Falling For You kit, and I have that same layout in Photoshop and Photoshop Elements, and we're going to do the tutorial in both so I can show you ways that will work whichever program that you're using. There are a couple of different methods that I use for that. The first one, and I'm going to show you how to do this in Photoshop Elements. This is Photoshop Elements version 12, and then I'll show you how to do it in regular Photoshop in the Creative Cloud version. Okay, the first thing is put something behind it. Here's an example right here. This text is much easier to read if I have this paint behind it. You can see how when I turn that layer off, it's very difficult to read. So I'll go ahead and turn that back on. So that's one thing, but I don't want paint behind everything. I really like this section up here where you can see the nice colors in the pattern, but it does make parts of my title work up here a little difficult to see. So I'm going to show you another way that I use to do that. The concept behind it is we can mute the space right underneath that word with one of the prominent colors in the pattern, and we won't really notice that we're zoomed out and looking thing, but it'll make it so that those words pop off. You can try changing the color. I could change the color to white here instead, but because there's some white in this paper, that doesn't really help or doesn't really make a difference. What I'm going to do is to add an outer kind of a glow behind it. In Photoshop Elements, there is a feature where we could adjust an effect and add a glow to it. But that glow in Photoshop Elements is automatically set to screen, and so it kind of lightens everything around it, and it doesn't have as much of the effect that we're looking for. And so I'm going to go ahead and show you that method, and then a second method for Photoshop, a workaround for Photoshop Elements, and then we'll go to Photoshop. So the first thing is on this Every Time I See You, we're going to go ahead and add that layer style. So under Layer, Layer Style, Style Settings, it's a glow, so go ahead and check the box on glow. And if you check the box, it may drop it down. If not, click on that little arrow and it'll drop it down. We want an outer glow. And now remember I said there it's automatically set with a blending mode of screen, which lightens things, and a color that's sort of, glow in the dark, off-white here. We want the color to be orange, so let's click on the little box and with our color picker, pick an orange color. The reason I'm choosing orange is because that's one of the main colors on my layout here, but it's also a prominent color in this plaid behind here. And let's, because the blending mode is automatically set to screen or lighten, I'm probably going to have to leave the opacity up quite a ways and just bump up the size. Right now you can see there's a tiny little line around it because it's set at 5 pixels, but if I bump up that size to something like about 46 pixels, it's a lot harder to see, but that kind of adds just a hazy outline around each of them and makes them a little bit easier to see. This particular color combination with the orange and with the plaid that's behind it, this doesn't have the effect I'm hoping for. That's the best that we can do with that layer style and the combination that we've got. But let me show you another workaround that works very well. Let's go ahead and clear that layer style. So you can see a difference now that it's gone. And let's make a new layer. And I want that layer down underneath this text. And I'm going to get a brush. I'm going to have a soft round brush. You want it to be soft so it has the fuzzy edges. And I want my foreground color to be that orange. And to get my brush size right, what I'm looking for is something that's just going to almost cover that space. And so we're going to go ahead and paint kind of behind wherever the text is, and this is just what works for you. Like you might look at it and go, okay, I do need to do down here under the Y, and you might look at it and go, no, that one's visible enough, it's not a problem. This is where you get to just kind of see what works. Now let's lower the opacity on that one down. We probably are going to end up in the 30s, 20, 25, 30, somewhere right there. Okay, that if you look super close and kind of with a critical eye, you can see that there's white in the background here, and behind this now we kind of have a light peach there because it just mutes those colors so that it's easier for you to be able to read the words that are there. Let me turn it off. See how they kind of clash or fight with each other, and when you turn it back on again, it makes the words just easier to see. And you can see a difference between the Every Time I See You I and All Over Again. So let's go ahead and add the one for the All Over Again back here. It just makes those a little easier to see when you've got a strongly patterned background and you want to add the text over top of it. Okay, that's my favorite probably workaround in Photoshop Elements, but you can do it inside of Photoshop a lot more straightforward with just that layer style. So let's go ahead and on the every time I see you, we're going to double click on the layer, not on the box where the text is and not where the title of that layer is, but over here in the extra space, and then it'll bring up our layer style. We want to go ahead and click on outer glow, and that'll bring up the outer glow details for us. And again, it's automatically set to screen, which is that lighten. We want to change it to normal. That has the same effect as if we painted the orange on there, but specifically this time it's going to be around each letter and out a certain distance. So let's go ahead and up the size, something like you can see it with, because I haven't changed the color yet, and then double click to change that color to the orange. And that's probably 75% is probably a pretty strong opacity. We'll probably end up with the same number we did in Photoshop Elements of somewhere in the 25 to 30 range. And that just makes that word so much easier to be seen. So that's my tip for being able to see text when it's on a strongly patterned background. If you have any questions, you can reach me at shells.creations1@gmail.com. We'll see you next time.